If I was a woman, I wouldn't want to have a child either. Why would I want to have a child? I don't need to have a child. I don't need to have a man. I don't need to pretend that I'm in love. I don't need to pretend that I want to be a mother. I don't need to stay at home and play giggle with a little child who's just another slave in the system. I don't have to do any of this shit. Why should I do that? Why should I waste my resources doing this when there's other games that are much more fun that are available for me to play? Why? And don't tell me I will find fulfillment, because my mother didn't find fulfillment. My grandmother didn't find fulfillment. And that's why I'm the byproduct of their lack of fulfillment. So I'm talking as a woman, right? I'm the byproduct of my mom, my grandmother, and all these lineages of women that came before me. And I'm the byproduct of their discontent. And then you tell me I should do the same thing as they did. Well, quite clearly it didn't work out. So why I should do this? What's the point? How's that going to fulfill me? And the only reason I did that before, or a couple of generations ago, is because the zoo required me, through its ordained religious priests and its science of the time, which was religion, that imposes us to do that and gave us, this is what you are as a woman, you're supposed to give birth. And you as a man are supposed to go work in the field like a donkey. This was ordered by the zookeepers in order for us to create more slaves so that we can build the zoo and make the zoo structure increase and grow and grow and grow. So I didn't really want to have a child. I was obliged to have a child. It was what I did because there's nothing else to do. And that was what was told to me to do, even though it may match my biology. I didn't necessarily want to have a child. What for? What's in it for me?
The most dangerous baby daddy in the world is not the baby daddy that leaves you when you're pregnant. Not the baby daddy that cheats or leaves you for another woman or doesn't pay his child support, or the one you never see again. The most dangerous baby daddy is the one that wants to sit around and play house. Wants to sit around and pretend you're a family, all while being non-committal to you. That way you can't move on, you can't detach, you can't find somebody that truly loves you. This kind of baby daddy will take your entire life if you let him. Put your foot down, have a boundary, walk away to somebody who is giving you breadcrumbs, and go find the love of your life. Get somebody while you're young and beautiful. You deserve somebody that wants to be there consistently, committed to you. Give your kids the opportunity to see a family raised in love.
Howdy, welcome back to another episode on The Wholesome Rave. If this is your first time, hit that notification bell. Make sure to stay subscribed so you're always notified when I post new videos. Let's head right into the video for today. This video is centered around why fatherhood is seen as optional, why motherhood as an identity. So I came across this YouTube video. This guy was talking about how fatherhood has become a failure, and that got me thinking. It's not just about fathers. What about mothers? There's a truth that no one wants to talk about. Most of the time, society really questions this behavior when a woman walks away from a relationship with the kids. But when a man walks away from a relationship with the kids, they blame sometimes the mother, and most of the time the mother takes a hard fall when she refuses to move out of a relationship with the kids as well. When she takes the children away from a relationship, people assume that she's just protecting the kids. Some people even go ahead to assume that she's doing that based on her own survival. But when you flip the coin and consider this on the other side, when a man moves away with the kids and the mother doesn't, then people start to question, what did she do wrong? Maybe she wasn't a good mother after all. I'm not saying that they don't ask the same questions to when a woman walks away with the kids. They do this, but there is not a lot of heavy consequences that goes with this. Most times people assume that she was being maltreated. Most times people assume that she was being cheated on. These are the common scenarios and conclusions that most people come to. But the most important thing that a lot of people neglect is the children that is involved in this. There are some women who do this to avoid being seen as the one who wasn't enough in the relationship. Truth is, children are not your therapy tool. If you need a therapist, you know where to find one. It's time for a lot of us, especially grown-ups in relationships, to start to think of their kids and how their relationship between these two grown-ups definitely affects the child. Using your child to send a message to an ex, using your child to punish an ex, using your child to get benefits, especially financial benefits from your partner, is so devilish. The brutal irony of this is children tend to feel the most out of these breakups. These kids can't even find the words to express how these breakups between both parents actually make them feel. So I guess the real question we need to be asking ourselves is this: if the goal is meant to protect your child, then why make this a battlefield? So you might be asking yourself, if I don't have to have kids just to give myself a sense of purpose or fit into the society, then why is motherhood seen as an identity for most women? There is a double standard in parenting. Research shows that even in dual career families, fathers still receive more credit for caregiving than mothers. How crazy is that? Mothers are usually seen as the default caregiver, why fathers are seen as peripheral or optional, unless these fathers choose caregiving. And the truth is, for a lot of mothers, there is a big clash between the ideal mothers and ideal workers. Do you know that there are a lot of working moms that receive less credit for working and having to take care of their kids at the same time? Reasons being the fact that many people see women that are more focused on caregiving as more committed than a mother who is ideally more focused on working. We live in a modern era where people romanticize independent woman becoming a boss lady, but ideally the world is very much patriarchal. As much as we women tend to think that we control a lot of things, the men secretly control more things. Men are given more opportunities to access some of these benefits. A lot of mothers face penalties, and some mothers even have to experience fewer promotions due to being perceived as less committed. If you're a mother who is working and having to take care of your kids, obviously sometimes you have to juggle between dropping your kids off at school, making them a nice breakfast. And yes, I know some of you are going to talk about how you can get someone to do that for you and still show up at work at the same time. But this is also part of the problem, because some people fail to realize how much women have to go through in order to prove themselves, especially mothers. So I guess the bottom line here is that the role of a father is seen as optional, not because it is optional, because society has allowed a lot of men to opt out of caregiving without any consequences. Some of them are often praised for focusing more on work rather than their children, and that is where the problem lies. One of the reasons why fatherhood is often seen as optional is due to some of the historical norms and cultural norms that has shaped us over centuries and decades. There are certain gender expectations that both men and women have for one another, or should I say the society in general. If you go back to the historical pretext, traditionally men were seen as providers and not caregivers. A father's job was to earn money and to discipline a child, not to nurture a child. This created a belief system that as long as a man keeps providing, his presence is secondary. Even in the early legal system, custodial laws heavily favored mothers. They did this because they wanted to reinforce the maternal role of a mom in the children's life, thereby making a father's role supplementary. These days, things have taken a different turn. Now, both the father and the mother are favored equally based on their prenup or based on the level of their divorce procedure. When you take a look at what's happening today, especially in our media, the media tends to portray a man or a father figure when you watch these movies as a more relaxed type personality. In sitcoms, the father is usually the goofy one that sits on a couch. He's usually portrayed as a dad who can't change his baby's diapers. Sometimes they even go on to portray men in these movies or sitcoms as fathers who are absent-minded and emotionally distant breadwinners. And you can see this in a lot of movies where a man is being portrayed as a father who's always busy. He goes to work, he doesn't know his child's birthday, he forgets his wife's anniversary, and suddenly he comes up and does the bare minimum, and he's being praised as a good man, as a good father. This behavior, especially through our media, has corrupted the mindset of a lot of young men out there. Some men actually think that by simply providing or going out to work each day, they are actually involved in their children's life. And this is what makes motherhood more difficult for a lot of young women out there. This is what makes a lot of women feel like their identity is tied to just raising these kids up and nurturing these kids. This low bar unfortunately sends a message to so many young men. That message is that fatherhood is extra credit and not a responsibility. It is a responsibility. It's not just about you going to work and trying to provide. There is more to just doing that. A lot of black folks that have committed one crime or the other, a lot of them tend to have absent fathers in their life. Not all of these people had their totally absent fathers. Some of them did have their fathers in their life, but these men were not present. They were there, but they weren't present. They never took interest in what their kids liked, what their kids enjoyed. They never really took any interest to understand their children's behavior, to know who they really are, to shape them, to impact knowledge into these children. And that is why a lot of them end up disobeying orders and running away from home, and they end up getting into one trouble or the other. The black community today, they praise women who raise these kids alone, but they tend to forget that a lot of these children grow up being underprivileged because their mother has to take care of everyone else, and they felt like they had to step up and become someone that provides for their siblings too. So most of these kids ended up having responsibilities at a very tender age, and some people do try to make something out of themselves, but you can't ignore the pressure that comes with taking on such responsibilities at a really young age. And this is what is causing a lot of us black folks to do a lot of things that are so bad, and this ends up getting people locked up or being arrested or having one problem or the other. The other day I came across a video on YouTube. I'm just gonna tell you guys. It was about people graduating from one of these big colleges. I'm not sure, maybe Harvard or Stanford or something. And while this guy was interviewing parents, there was one couple he interviewed that caught my interest. They seemed so lovely at first, but at the end of the interview, I realized that they were both co-parenting, and this was their last child. Apparently, they got divorced early on after having all of their kids, but they somehow managed to have a relationship where the both of them could attend their child's graduation together. And I couldn't feel that tension. I could just see something different. Should I call it friendship, or should I call it love, or should I call it it's a kind of relationship that you only get with someone you have a child with. I would say that it's almost as if these couples are mature enough to let go or keep aside their differences and show up for what is important to them, and that being their child's graduation. So I'm gonna ask this question. I know that there are still some people watching this video right now that grew up being raised with one of your parents. How many of your parents can you confidently say has this kind of relationship? And I know that there are so many people who try to have this relationship, but somehow it's almost impossible to develop this kind of relationship. In that case, I wouldn't blame you. This is why I encourage you to share this video to people that you think are in the process of making a decision, a lifelong decision of having kids. It's important that they know that the person who you want to build a life with, are you capable of still having a relationship that works for your child, even if your relationship with your partner fails? It's something that needs to be talked about more. And unfortunately, a lot of couples don't even discuss this. They talk about the happy moments. They love to talk about the positive things. And it's really, really sad because a lot of men don't feel guilty when the woman takes the children. Some men just think, okay, well, I can always make another kid. I can always find a younger woman. And I think I understand why a lot of women also take children away from marriages or relationships or breakup. I think the reason is because the society has made women to believe that after a certain age, they become useless. They don't really have much to offer to the society. And these women end up taking, especially younger women who separate at a younger age, they end up taking huge responsibilities of raising these children, even though their partner is very much capable of doing that. It's difficult to talk about because I'm not a mom yet. I can't fully relate to what like the feeling of leaving your child with your partner could feel like. But it's also something we women also need to start considering, because most men are very okay with having their kids with their wives. They go on living their life like nothing happened. They go on trying out for new relationship. Why is it so bad if a woman also decides to take this kind of decision? At the end of the day, a lot of women, a lot of these mothers turn to another man to take care of their own kids. So why is it not okay to have your kids stay with your male partner when he's capable of raising these kids and you know that you are financially unstable to raise these kids? I'm not trying to promote this idea, but I'm just trying to think about the both sides as well. Most men already think that anyway, she's gonna take the kids, like I'm not gonna try to fight her. I know the kids are going to come back to me when they're all grown up. Yeah, the kids are gonna come back to you when they're all grown up. The same thing for you ladies. The kids are gonna come find you when they're all grown up. So it's time to use your common sense. Let's say you have 6. Most women end up taking all children. Some women don't even consider splitting the kids in order to take the responsibilities equally. They just feel that doing this makes them seem like a good mother. But are you really a good mother if you are denying your children of basic necessities like food and proper clothing? Let's watch some videos on TikTok regarding this.
To my younger ladies out there, and I'm saying this as somebody who also started having children in my 20s, stop listening to these ladies talking about they glad they got their kids out the way so that they could basically relive their 20s over when they're in their late 30s and in their 40s. Because most of these women didn't care about giving their kids a good life. They talking about, oh, have your kids in your 20s so you could travel when you're in your 30s and 40s. Don't you think you should have been traveling with your kids? Don't you think you should have been focused on the life and experience that you was giving your kids? And I'm not saying this is all women, but I do notice a lot of women who say this don't care about the fact that their kid was getting dragged while they was learning how to be an adult and learning about themselves and becoming a mature person. And they often ignore how their kid felt through that process. Everybody can choose their own path, but I will say if you're in your late teens, early 20s, use that time to have fun, make your mistakes, learn about life, learn about yourself, and, have fun while you don't have a mouth to feed and somebody relying on you. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but being a parent when you're a little bit more established, financially stable, and mature is a lot more fun than when you're trying to figure out how to get by. And I'm not saying life doesn't have ups and downs, because throughout your life, you're always going to have ups and downs, mentally, financially, physically. But at least give yourself time to build up a foundation before you have them kids. Because a lot of them mamas who brag about that they got their kids out the way spent half of their life counting down till they could leave their kids home alone and relive that life that they really missed out on.
That last point right there is the reason why I always preach this to all women out there. There are so many women who parade training these kids single-handedly, but at the end you see that these women ended up losing a part of themselves in the process. And these women failed to actually live their life fully because they only live their life worrying about the next thing, worrying about having to put food on the table for their children. This is a common trend with the Black community.
Baby mama, baby daddy culture is so normalized nowadays that people will literally look at you sideways if you say that you want to be engaged, married, or anything on the lines of that. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is, oh, he's gonna cheat, and marriage is nothing but a piece of paper. It's actually not. Marriage is a union between you and your partner, and y'all stand before God and the state, declaring your love for each other and declaring that you guys will always stick with each other. You guys are united. So it's more than just a piece of paper. You got women in the media right now, fuck my baby dad, fuck my baby dad. You got men in the media saying, fuck that bitch, I nut on her face and da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? Just nasty, disrespectful stuff. Nobody is promoting love. Nobody is promoting unity. Nobody is promoting marriage. Nobody is promoting foundation. Nobody is promoting being with your fucking family. Baby mama, baby daddy culture is all about making the Black man and the Black woman no longer united, okay?
That is why a lot of you all need to start protecting yourself. You need to protect your body. You need to protect your womb. Having a child for any man is not something that should be done lightly. It's not something that should be done just because you feel like you're in love. This is a big and huge commitment that stays with you for life. You're literally tethered to this person or the father of your child forever. So why don't you just stop and actually think that this person I'm having this child to would actually also be tethered to me forever? Is this the kind of man that I want for my child? Is this the kind of man that I want as the father figure in my child's life? Sometimes these questions, as simple as they sound, they are the foundations of any relationship ever working. When you think about it, and then you think about some of the structural disincentives of these ideologies, they play out in so many different ways. One of them is when you look at a man taking paternity leave for his kids, it's almost always that most men, they have shorter paternity leaves than women. There are so many situations where men don't even get paternity leaves. And what does this do? This leaves the woman to take care of all the burdens of her newborn alone, with the man busy out there working to earn a living, while the woman staying at home and having to bear the burdens of a newborn child. And as much as people think that women are wired to be nurturers, I'm gonna tell you this straight up. No woman knows how to be a proper mom until she has her baby. It's all a learning process. Truthfully, if you ask mothers who have more than one kid, I'm gonna tell you that every kid is also a learning process. It's just a different kid. Some things are repetitive, but you're not getting the same kid twice. You're getting a different kid. And you have to learn and walk the ropes with your child individually. So that is something that a woman, when she has her partner with her, it is easier. It makes it less of a burden for both parties. Another disincentives we see, especially with structural policies, is that in societies, women are seen as legal caretakers, both emotionally and legally. And this is also one of the biggest drives of why a lot of women do feel entitled. This creates a belief in some women that if they are to take the child, it would only require a little pushback. Legal laws are also very much biased to thinking that just because they are mothers, that they are the ones entitled to taking a child when breakup happens. Unfortunately, a lot of good men get caught up with bad moms and having their kids being taken away from them by bad mothers, and they have to deal with the legal troubles around proving that they are in fact capable of nurturing and taking care of their own child. So this video is only for educational purposes. I cannot say who deserves the right to having a child during a breakup. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you feel like when a couple splits, the woman is entitled to the child regardless of what is the reason for the breakup? Or do you think that the men are entitled? Or like I said in the video, that women also should feel comfortable allowing the second parent to take care of their kids? Let me know which one you would actually choose if you were to be in any kind of position. To be honest with you, this was kind of a scary conversation for me. Most of my opinions that I have shared in this video are simply like just based on like deep thinking, like what people really need to know, not just about marriage, but these two-sided double standards that a lot of people have to go through with parenting. These are all the things that come with relationships, having children, raising one, becoming part of the society in some way. Everyone has their different struggles. So if you're a mom or you're a dad watching this video, if you have personal experience with these two, let me know in the comment section. Share your thoughts down. You guys make this engaging, okay? I want to say something. So there's been a lot going on with me right now. That's why I've been having delays with uploading more consistently. I am being intentional on here, and I remember and I know you guys exist. I love you guys so much for all your support, the comments. I don't take anyone for granted. Like, you guys are the reason why sometimes when I feel like giving up, I'm just like, hell no. What am I gonna tell my subscribers? What am I gonna tell those people who comment on my videos? And I just get my ass up and I film something and I research something. I try to brainstorm. This is just perfect. It's a perfect way for me to just share my ideas, Sometimes I feel like I just have way too much going on in my head and I just have to get it out. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this video. That's about it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.